And it's time now for our Sheriff Sit Down Weekly, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. And I'm happy to have in studio Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, as well as the Jail Chief Kevin Hanson. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with Friday. There was a retirement for two great guys in the Sheriff's Office. And how was that well received at the Colonial House? You guys saw, I saw some great pictures of it.
It was full. It was full. It was really nice of so many people to come out. I didn't realize, I forgot I talked about on the radio last week. That added a few extras that we weren't ready for, but that was great to have everybody come out and see Jim and Russ off.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to hear the backstories, kind of how y'all met each other, and then their own individual stories of what brought them to Mason County eventually, and pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. Kevin, got you here. That must mean we're talking jail. What's been going on in the jail recently?
Well, you know, this last fall, the sheriff put a cap on the jail because of staffing and lack of jail space. And unfortunately, here just recently, we had one corrections deputy retire, and unbeknownst to us, kind of at the last minute, we had two corrections deputies quit and move on to other ventures. So when we talk about staffing, you know, we had 24 or 27 funded positions. We're down to 24 now. And when you take 3 away from nothing, you end up with nothing, and it really creates a safety situation in the jail for our staff and the inmates. When you know I don't have enough people to work. Sure. And just in a 2-week period, the last 2-week pay period, we used over 300 hours of overtime. Wow. And that's more than double what we anticipated using for the year. I mean, using weekly for the year. So. It's pretty scary. So what's the next steps here? You have ads out now for new jail officers to come in, or are you shifting Sheriff's Office resources into the jail, or how is this working? Well, emergency basis, we had to actually, last weekend we had 2 inmates that ended up at the hospital, and we ended up having to staff the jail at the same time, and we ended up having a sheriff's deputy have to come over and sit in the jail. Wow. just to be a body. We're working with civil service. We've got a list of applicant names. We're really looking for female corrections deputies, and we use a selections company called Public Safety Testing, and you can get online at our website there and fill out an app, and there's a link to get to the Public Safety Testing website. And so, you know, any women that want a really good job with benefits, you know, just get on there, and we'd love to take a look. Taking her from me, Casey. You're not taking. I brought an application for Mickey.
She's ready to go. You know, Jeff, we brought this up during the cuts, and if you look at the amount of cuts the Sheriff's Office took compared to everybody else, we said this would be riding a fine edge by doing this, and you're taking a huge risk. And once again, as we've foreseen, took the risk, and it didn't work out, and it's going to be way more expensive than just to keep the staffing on than we should have kept on. But it wasn't decided by us, but it was decided to cut staffing, and we warned against this, and now we're in the mix. So it's getting rough. You kind of get a sense of the retirements. You kind of know when those are coming, but those unexpected quits really kind of leave you in a lurch. Yeah. The problem that it does for the staff, though, on both the patrol side and the jail side, when you don't have enough people, the stress level goes up, and it's easier to go somewhere else and work. You're gonna make more money, and you're gonna be in a situation where there's more staffing, and you can get your days off, you can get your vacation days and those things like that. When Kevin's got a jail staff that it's not even enough to cover the shifts, you don't get your vacation time, and the stress level goes up, and people say, you know what, I'll go next door and work for more and have better staffing, and it goes in a cycle that it just continues to get worse. Where do you get the guidelines for inmate to officer population control and things like that? Does that come from the feds or from the state, or do you kind of make those numbers determined? And yeah, the sheriff has the complete sole responsibility to determine the population cap, and there is no magic number that says you have to have this many corrections deputies for this many inmates, just because it's based upon the way the facility is designed. It's the way the facility is operated, and we go down to 3 people at nighttime after 10 o'clock at night in our jail. We have about 100 inmates in there. And one of those 3 is stuck in a control room and they can't leave. Yeah. So that leaves you 2 deputies at nighttime to do your hourly checks and
and to take care of the inmates and book people and do intakes and everything else. And it's just there is no magic number for that.
And I think when you came down, I mean, we talked about it doesn't sound like much until you realize that's the whole evening.
Yeah.
That they're gone. There's nobody to run the evening shift. And we talked about that when you were there.
There is some good news, though. You know, the criminal justice working team has reinvigorated the subcommittee that we established again last year about jail construction and the feasibility of, you know, what are we going to do here in the future. And you know, we've been talking, this county's been talking about a jail problem since 1985, and they've had studies, they've had analysis, they've had independent reviews, we've had just process after process after process, and nothing's ever happened. Yeah. And so we have some real influential people that are part of this subcommittee team, and I think that we're going to see some movement here in the next 6 months or so about, you know, really taking a step out there and trying to fix this problem here at this jail. One
of the things at the jail that you talked about this past week at your monthly luncheon was the possible use of therapy dogs in a jail scenario. How did that play out? Tell me about this.
Well, many of the agencies in the state have therapy dogs and use them for interviews of mainly children of victims of sexual assault, and also use them for the therapy dogs are trained for all kinds of different functions. Our veterans use those. We talked about it with a friend of mine's bringing her dog over on this Thursday for our open public breakfast, and she was there last Friday for our law enforcement breakfast. And they use them in Thurston County and the surrounding counties, use those dogs for interviews. With the tension so high in the jail, and especially with the circumstances with mental health, we are trying to do anything we can to hang on to this jail and to keep things calm in there. And the idea of using a therapy dog, I brought that up. A doctor of veterinary medicine and a retired senior deputy prosecutor from King County came down that owned the company that put this program together. And they gave an outstanding presentation on the legal aspects and also on the therapy aspects of the dog. We had a couple of those dogs out there Friday, and one will be down this Thursday as our guest speaker for our open morning breakfast.
And how does that work? Would they be used in kind of the scenarios when the inmates gather at the commissary, or I mean, you wouldn't just have the dog roaming around or anything. So
no,
the doors would be open, right? So how does this work?
You know, the intention there is to use those like when the mental health counselors are talking individually with the inmates and they're doing the counseling sessions, that dog would be available there for them, okay, you know, in those interactions. Our mental health people are just absolutely ecstatic about this, and as far as I know, there's no other county jails that are doing this, and So I think the sheriff's going to be one of the first people out there in Washington State to have a jail therapy dog. Sure. So it's people are really excited about it, and I think it's really going to make a difference for the people that are there, and you know, and talking about reentry and you know, just trying to help them out and get them in a better place when they get out of jail than when they come in, and so I think it'll be fit our mission.
Well, you know, somebody's yelling at the speakers right now going, well, you talk about the costs of the jail and things like this. How much would something like this cost for these dogs?
We're getting this all taken care of. We have a sponsor, and the only thing that we'll have is a training time to send the handler to a training circumstance, and we're just going to make that happen.
Huh. Okay.
But I'm not, you know, we don't get money from the county for our canines, and we never have, and we're going to work towards this. And I've already got, you know, our veterinarians have always taken care of the dogs for us, and I even had another veterinarian come on and say that they would take this one if we're getting have too many.
Very cool.
Wow. Yeah. And again, the conversations that we've had over the jail and the population, of course, is contingent on the types of inmates you have in the jail at that exact time. There are, you know, certain folks that you can't have interacting with other folks and things like that. We've seen shows where they do this, and that's one of the main big things when it comes to space. You can't have people that would potentially harm another inmate or gather and harm an officer or something like that.
Yeah.
Classification of the inmates.
We have just in the last 60 days or so, our medium security prisoner population has been overpopulated, resulting in actually people sleeping on the floor when there's vacant rooms in like maximum security or minimum security. So, you know, that's just because you have 80 beds doesn't mean that you have 80 beds. Yeah. You may have some vacant beds in one of the other areas. So
we do have
really
rules and standards that govern that too. How long you can keep somebody on the floor, and so we have to do that. We have to watch in the fire codes, all those things. You're getting pretty good at this. You've been down there enough and walked through. You know the right questions to ask.
I know what's going on.
He knows what's going on.
Yeah, I've seen inside.
We get more people to watch. You know, Tuesdays at 10.
Still
we do
doing those guys?
Yes.
Yep, Tuesdays at 10. Nobody ever shows up, but we're still
We'd
doing
sure
it.
like to have somebody come down when people ask questions. We've had the door open for quite a while now. Yeah. And obviously a person like you that's been down there and walked through, you understand and you know the right questions to ask now.
Yeah, for sure. And then finally, Special Olympics torch run coming up. You guys have been working hard on this already.
I've been trying to do a little running to work hard, but I'll tell you, it's it gets tougher every year between that and jumping in the cold water and Puget Sound. When I can't do those anymore, I'll be done because that I guess that'll be the when the tanks run empty if you can't do these two things. But yes, we're gearing up for the end of May for our Special Olympics Law Enforcement Torch Run. And like I said, you know, we were selected to be the final leg for the United States Special Olympics Games. We'll be stopping through here the following month on the U.S. Games. And we'll be having a gathering out at the Alderbrook. But we worked really hard last year to, as a first-year startup, it was $2,014 that we were trying to make was our goal for 2014, and we far exceeded that standard. And this year we've already had a little push out to the Lions Club. Chief and I went out there with the undersheriff the other night and the other chief to speak to them about our when we jumped in the water out there for the polar plunge. And we went out and visited with them, and they heard about our law enforcement torch run, and they donated $450 to start us off.
Wow.
So we're already very close to last year's amount in donations that we've taken in without even having quite started yet. People throughout the year have come in and said, you guys do this for Special Olympics. I want to keep donating. So we're looking forward to a great year and a great run.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
In the end of the year, the sheriff also had the beard fundraiser.
Right.
Yeah, the Beards and Boots fundraiser helped us. And we'll do that again this year. We're going to start it maybe. I'm working on this. I'm on the edge for me, but I'm looking to add one more month because a lot of our folks start hunting season, and they thought if we could move it back one month, add a month, it gives them. See, then we'll make more money too. Add them back for a month, so through hunting season and then on into like we did last year.
Well, and it helps when people go, what? Will you wake up late or something? Like, no, actually, I'm doing this.
And it did. It brought in quite a bit for us. It got us a great start for this year and keep it going throughout the year. So
it was about $1,500, I think.
Wow,
nice.
That's very impressive.
Well, the Sheriff Sit-Downs Weekly here, brought to you now by our Community Credit Union. We thank them for that. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury and Jail Chief Kevin Hanson. Thank you so much, guys. It was good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.